Welcome to the Real View podcast, where Ohio Realtors connect you to innovators and influencers, keeping you with the real view of real estate. Whether you're a broker, agent, first-time homebuyer, industry leader, or just happen to stumble upon our podcast today, you can expect to hear tips, tools, tricks, interesting information, and so much more from the experts in Ohio's real estate game. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Real View podcast. I am your host, Allison Wiley. Joining me today, our special guest is Lynn Madison. She is no stranger to our Ohio Realtors community, our realtor family as a whole. She is the owner of Lynn Madison Seminars, a full-service training and development company devoted to the advancement of professionalism in real estate. She has been a speaker at NAR conventions, at Ohio Realtors Convention, all over the country for over a decade. She has spoken to realtors in more than 30 states, including here with us in Ohio. We are so happy to have her on today. Lynn, welcome onto the show.
Oh, thank you so much. It's so good to be back. It's been a while since I've been there with you guys in Ohio. So I'm looking forward to it.
We are too, and Lynn is going to be joining us at our Ohio Realtors Convention and Expo coming up in Columbus in September. She's going to be with us for 2 sessions, so we get her twice. She's got so much good stuff to share with us. So we're going to learn a little bit more about what she has in store for us, learn a little bit more about her as an instructor, as a realtor, and all that good stuff. So hopefully this will give you guys some really good insight into what we have in store for you coming in September. But first, Lynn, I'd like to start with you. If you could share with us a little bit more about yourself, how you got started in real estate, what's led you to where you are today. Give us a little bit of your insight and background.
I started in the business as a salesperson, which is where most of us all start. And I became Salesman of the Year for a company here in Illinois in the Chicago market, my 3rd full year in the real estate business, so about 3.5 years. And I did it by working my sphere of influence. And yet, when I became a managing broker, which happened shortly after that, by the way, which is what usually happens, is they go, okay, come and now teach others or whatever. I found that a lot of people were, back in the day, we didn't have all the leads online like we have now, but we had to advertise and pay for ads in newspapers. So for those of you who remember, those are paper things with words on them. Okay, so newspapers. And my agents were spending tons of money on these ads that weren't bringing them any return. And I started to say to them, but you have to work your sphere of influence. That's where most of our business comes from. So I started teaching in the school that our company had. And so I started with that. And then I started with, you have to know your market, because you have to be able to explain that you have to know whether it's a buyer's market or a seller's market. Everything we do depends on whether it's a buyer's market or seller's market. So from there, I went on to, they said, your strength is in training, so come and be our training director. And that's how it all kind of happened. But what's interesting is that those were many years ago. It's changed dramatically, but some of it has not. And in one of those sessions that I'm going to be doing for you called Ultimate Service, that's for the agents. Managing brokers can attend, of course, but it's primarily for the agents to give today's buyers the service, the level of service that they need. And we will be talking about supply and demand and how we can communicate that to our clients. Because I find a lot of agents are not they know how to get it. It's in the MLS in most cases, the analytics. But then what do we do with it? And how do we communicate that to our clients? So in that course, we're going to talk about what today's clients are looking for what level of service they're requiring. And we have a lot of agents, unfortunately, who got into this business and all they think about is making a sale and not cultivating long-term repeat business and referrals. And that's where we need to be. This is a profession, not just, if you want a job, go drive an Uber, okay? But this is more than that. This is building relationships. So I'm going to take a lot of that managing part of it and bring it into the ultimate service piece of it. So
that's going to be awesome. That's so exciting. And that is going to be On Monday, September 14th, this will be Ultimate Service, Raising the Standard in Real Estate Representation from 2 to 3 p.m. So absolutely circle that on your calendar. You guys are not going to want to miss that. I know you have a ton of really great information you're going to share with us. And I love what you said, that it's happening so fast and things are quickly changing, but yet so much is staying the same.
Yeah.
And I think when you bridge those two together, we can find exactly where we are today. So it's going to be cool to see how you're going to bridge those two together, remembering what we're going through and all the new changes and things that we're constantly having to keep up with, but yet remembering why it's still the same career that it's been, since we've been able to become realtors and we were doing those newspaper ads.
That's right. Exactly. But part of the other side of that is we've got newer agents coming into the business who really, really don't know what the business is all about when you come fresh out of pre-licensing class, but that's another topic for another time. But then we've got older, more seasoned agents. I shouldn't say older. Let me just say more seasoned agents. Hey, I'm a baby boomer. I can say older. But the bottom line is they're not letting go of the way it used to be. And that's just as dangerous as not knowing from the beginning what you're supposed to be doing. We've got to blend. You're right, Allison. We've got to find a way to bridge those gaps in both directions. So we'll help you with that a little bit. We've got some tools to help you kind of figure all of that out. So in the ultimate service. Now, what I'm really excited about as well is the broker one. I do expert witnessing here in Illinois. I've done it in a couple of other states as well, but in Illinois. So I have a relationship with some of the E&O insurance carriers because they're the ones who sometimes hire me. And I ask them, what are the most often cited problems that you see, lawsuits that you see? So some of what's going to be in this broker course is coming from that angle. But then I'm also very close to, I'm on the professional standards committee at NAR. So we also are aware of where all of the ethics complaints are coming from. So what I put together was the common risk management things that managing brokers need to be careful about. From agency disclosure and making sure everything is in your transaction folders, to advertising, to your company policy. So we're going to talk about it. And I have a kind of a system put together for the managing brokers to be able to analyze and recognize where the problems are at. Because a lot of times we as managing brokers are so busy, we don't always recognize when there's a problem brewing in the office. And none of us want to admit that. But it's a reality, especially if you've got more than just a couple of people in the office. So I'm looking forward to doing that one as well.
Yeah, that's going to be a really great one. That's Tuesday, September 15th from 11 a.m. to noon. The buck stops here. Strategic risk management for broker owners and managers. And I think it's so important. It's always important, right? We always want to be protecting ourselves. We always want to be sure we are using those best practices and have systems in place to ensure we are staying away from legal risks. But especially with everything that's going on in our business right now, we know the spotlight is on our industry, unfortunately, and that there are attorneys out there who are, looking at us and paying attention, maybe in ways that they weren't before. So it is so important, almost more now than ever, that we are really having a good grasp on this, and we are covering all of our bases because, as I said, the spotlight is on us, people are paying attention, and we have to be sure we're covering our bases.
And neither one of these can be thoroughly covered in just an hour. So what I've created then for you, and you'll get it when you come to the convention, is a handout that has way more information in it than we're going to be able to cover in an hour. But I think that's important. And you'll have access when we're done. You'll have my email address, and you'll be able to say, hey, I didn't understand this when I read it, because I want you to all walk away with something that's going to either make you more money in your pocket and take care of your clients, but as well as making sure that your brokerage companies are being run in a way that is, because you're only as good, and I say this to the managing brokers all the time, your office's reputation is only as good as the lowest common denominator agent you have in your office, because nobody's going to be drawn to your office if you've got 2 or 3 agents. Even if you've got 50 agents and 47 of them are doing it right, and 3 of them aren't, you got to fix the 3 because it reflects on everybody. So that's what we're going to be taking a look at, is making sure that the agents are doing their job when we're the managing brokers as well.
Yeah, no, so important. And I love that, you mentioned it in your description. It says that not only will brokers learn how to protect their business, but also foster growth and success. As you mentioned, I want to help people grow their business. I want to make sure that we are creating, successful and thriving companies. And you can have both. And I love that you mentioned that in the description, that both of these things can exist together.
Yes.
Talk to us about that and why maybe that misconception is out there that I can't be compliant and grow and I have to choose one or the other. Talk to us about that idea that you can have both and that there is a way to be really compliant and good at your business and make a lot of money and have a growing and thriving company.
Yeah. See, and I've always felt that was important. Managing agents is not an easy thing, because it's like herding cats.
Yeah.
I mean, and we all know that, because those of us who are successful very often want to do it our own way. Well, you got to let them do it their own way within the guardrails of staying on the track, if you will. So yeah, a good company policy is the first place to start with that. Treating everyone equally. We just had a disaster, and it didn't happen in Illinois. It was a friend of mine in another marketplace who told me about it. But it was a managing broker who, when a new agent and an experienced agent had a conflict in the office, the managing broker sided with and said it was going to go the way the experienced agent wanted it. And it was not the right decision. And I don't want to go into the whole thing here, but it was not the right decision. Not only did the new agent leave, but 7 other agents out of his 20-person office all left because of the decision he made. His decision was not made based on who was right or wrong. His decision was made on who's bringing the most money into our company. So to your point, Allison, his lack of making the right decision cost him money, because he still had the top producer, but he didn't have the 7 other people who were producing more than she was collectively. And because we do have managing brokers, and all of you listening to this have either seen it or experienced it, who do, when there's a conflict, they side with the top producer. And it's the kind of thing that, if you had a company policy that said this is how it works, then you could have gone back to the policy and stuck with that. So that isn't one of those teasers that says, come to the class, you'll hear the rest of the story. But it is a teaser that says, come to the class and because it is a viable. So I do believe that you can manage your office ethically and responsibly and still you've got to have happy agents in your office. And they all left. By the way, that office is now closed.
Wow.
Well, because he had a hard time recruiting after that because of everything that happened. Why did 8, because it was the new agent plus 7 others. Why did 8 people out of 20 something people, 30, whatever it was, leave? And he had a hard time recruiting after that. I'll give you my personal story very quickly. I took over an office in the company that I was working with, and there was a real problem with one of the top producers, and I had to let her go. And the people above me didn't want me to do that because she was producing a lot. I said, no, you don't understand. She's like the bad apple. Okay. I let her go. I was able to recruit after that. It was a brand new office. I stepped in to take over. I didn't realize that the reason that office was floundering was because of her. I know that sounds ridiculous, but it can happen. And we need to have some stuff in place to be able to deal with some of that. So yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy.
You mentioned it. It's you said, we're only as strong as, the weakest one, or the one who, like that, your strength lies in that. And it's so important to recognize, like you said, have plans and policies in place in order to, avoid that as much as possible. And it's so true. And I think too, I'm sure you're going to get into this in your class about, what agents are wanting right now. And you mentioned like they lost this instance you just mentioned, half the brokerage left. And it's, I think there's so much of a culture out there that brokers need to be aware of, that there needs to be strong leadership, that agents that are entering in and want to work for these companies are looking for specific things in their manager and for their broker. And I'm sure you're going to share with us all of that too, and many, many more examples. But I can't wait to hear.
Yeah, we'll talk about that interview process, because there's some questions we should be asking agents. I used to ask the agents, just as another little aside, one of the questions I asked them was, what's the most stressful thing that's ever happened to you in your life, and how did you handle it? Because our business has stress, and you have to know how to handle things. And she told me that it had something to do with her prom dress. And I'm thinking to myself, the most stressful thing that's ever happened to you in your life was your prom dress. I don't know how you're going to deal with the real estate business if you think that was stress.
That's what I was going to say. That's a pretty good life she's lived, man. That is so stressful.
Yeah. I mean, just go buy another dress. You know what I mean? It's not as easy as when you've got a client driving you crazy. You're kind of stuck with them if you've already written a contract and now they're being totally unreasonable, and you're trying to get it to the closing table. I mean, it's just, that was her. And I told her that I didn't really think that the real estate business was probably where she needed to be. No, it was, that was it. And good for her.
That's what I'm saying. What a good life, right?
Like you, sister. But it's interesting. So there's a lot of that involved. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, we can't wait. And what do you love about coming to conventions? I know you go all over the country, speaking at AR multiple times. What do you love about being here with everyone? And what's your favorite part about coming and speaking at?
Every time I teach, no matter what classes I'm teaching or where I'm teaching or whatever, I learn something. I learn something from the class. I learn something about myself. But a lot of the examples that I use, I never say, I heard it in Ohio, or I heard it in Wyoming or New Jersey or anything like that. But a lot of it comes from the audience, comes from you guys saying, oh, but wait, I got one better than that. And I think we all learn and this is true also when we're talking to our clients, giving them examples and stories about how things have happened for other people can help to get them to understand what's going on. Buying a home, those buyers now today more than ever think they already know everything.
Yep.
Between the internet, which has been there for a long time, but now with AI. Yep. And I'm not going to get deeply into AI when we talk, other than to say it is not always right. It is useful, but it should not be replacing us. But we as agents need to know what it is that the buyers are seeing when they go there, because we need to correct some of the stuff that is being given to them. And not the least of which is when one of the AI chat GPT or whoever it might be, I don't even care if Claude chat GP, whoever it is, starts doing CMAs because it's starting to be a problem. So we need to understand all of that because today's buyers can be very difficult. And not that buyers throughout history haven't been difficult, but for different reasons. Today, they have a lot more knowledge and a lot more information than they had before. So we have to stay on top of that. And we as agents aren't always staying ahead of where the buyers are at, because they've already done their research. An AR study, the profile of home buyers and sellers, is now saying we are at 100% of the buyers say they start their search online. Well, let me rephrase that. It was 98%. I think the other 2% lied. Okay, that's my opinion. So, I mean, if we're at 98% of the buyers are starting online, then we got to understand what it is that they're seeing there. Yep.
And learn how to meet
we
them.
do know that. Yeah.
Yeah. And learn how to meet them where they're at and be able to, explain to them all of this. And, I had, I recorded an episode about the difference between information and access to data versus truly understanding what that means and how to explain that to our clients.
That's right.
Yeah. And I think that's, where we are in this point. And it's great that, buyers are coming in, prepared and with an understanding that they feel like that they've learned on their own, but it's our job to really dissect that to them, explain that to them, and what that really means at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And when any of the AI platforms research, they always put on there, where they researched. Well, it's pretty scary where they got some of their information from,
Yeah.
because we already know that at least one of those places they're getting their information from is not always very accurate. So it's very interesting what we're seeing out there. So and we have to meet them where they're at.
Yeah, for sure. What can we expect from your classes? I know this has been a great preview. We have a lot to look forward to, a lot to be excited about. Sounds like, you were sharing, I love to hear back from, participants in the class. It seems like it's a very open and, dialogue style learning opportunity. What can we look forward to in your classes? What should we be prepared with when we walk into one of your sessions?
I try to make sure that we have a good time while we're doing it, because I don't think people learn well when they're bored out of their shorts. So, we'll talk about some situations and some ways to do it. And you'll walk away with concrete tools that you'll be able to put into place when you're done. And that I may not get to all of those tools other than to mention them. In other words, how to use them and all the rest of it. But because we only have an hour to talk about it, I'm going to lay the groundwork each time. And you're going to be able to go back and say, all right, I can put into place and here's how to assess, how to analyze, if the managing broker, what are the key things I should be watching for in my office if there are some problems. So I want to give you tools. I want to give you something that you'll actually be able to use when you leave. Yeah,
it's going to be really great. You come prepared to learn and get tools that you're going to be able to implement as soon as you leave Columbus. You can take with you, start in your brokerage, in your practice, if you're an agent or a broker right away. And that's going to be really amazing to hear. And we're looking forward to it. We can't wait to have you, Lynn.
Yep. And let's face it, some of you are going to sit there with me for an hour in each one of the sessions, and you're going to walk away going, I'm doing it right. And you know what? That's okay too. Because to reinforce that you've already got these systems in place tells you something about where you're at. And that does happen. So I always look at it this way. 1/3 of my audience is going to ignore everything and never change. 1/3's already doing it. And 1/3 will take some of the things we talk about and help themselves in their business. And that I, as an instructor, pretty much figure that's the way it's always going to be, because 1/3 of the people don't pay any attention. They're there, but they don't think they need it is the problem. They think they've already mastered everything. And we all know we learn something new every day. We really
That's so true. Yeah. And especially in the industry and the market that we live in, if you think that you've mastered this, I don't know how anyone can sit there and say that with how fast everything is moving and changing.
And I can't tell you how much, because I'm involved in writing courses. I write courses for REBI. I was the primary author of the ABR course in its previous iteration and all kinds of stuff. So I'm a course writer. I subscribe to 7 different news reporting services for the real estate business to stay on top of what is happening. And I'm changing my courses constantly because my courses can't even stay the same. They have to change. And unfortunately, and I'm going to be honest here and say, we have a lot of people who are not coming to courses from the associations. They're not coming to courses that are live or live on Zoom, virtual live. They're doing it all online. And I'm going to tell you, in many cases, those online courses are not keeping up with what's going on in the business. And I'm a little worried about that. So I'm really, really thrilled that when we're at a convention, these are the people who really want to learn. These are the people who want to hear what's going on. And I always am very proud to be at one of the state conventions. And like you said, I've been at yours a couple of times in the past. And I think that's why I learned from it, because it's the people who are out there doing it, most of the time doing it right.
Yeah. And I remember our superintendent of the Division of Real Estate here in Ohio saying, the names I see coming across my desks aren't the ones that are coming to these conventions. Right. They are not the ones who are in courses like yours, Lynn. They are not involved. They are not taking the time and the dedication to learn and educate and be up to date, because it's happening so fast. And I don't think anyone can sit there and say that they know exactly what's going on, because that's impossible. It is. And even from our experts like yourself, you're saying I'm having to work on this every day and it's nonstop.
I have to update everything that has to do with professional standards. needs
Yeah.
to be updated. I mean, we just had a couple of more changes in the pro standards. They don't take effect till the first of next year, but bottom line is we got to be ready for all of that. So yeah.
And this is a great way to do it by coming here, by listening to speakers like Lynn. Be sure to come to her sessions Monday and Tuesday, September 14th and 15th in Columbus. We can't wait to have you, Lynn. We're so excited. Thank you so much for your time, for joining us in a couple months. We can't wait to see you. We can't wait to have you back here in Ohio. We're so excited.
My pleasure to be here today, and my absolute pleasure to see you all in September.
And to all of our listeners, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Be sure to check out our convention schedule. We have so many amazing speakers like Lynn, ohiorealtors.org/convention. You're going to be able to find our full schedule. Be sure to circle all of Lynn's amazing sessions for us this week. We will talk to you guys next week. See you then.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to The Real View. That wraps up today's episode. You can keep up with the latest on the podcast at ohiorealtors.org/therealview and on Apple or Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen. Have questions, comments, or suggestions? We want to hear from you. Email us at podcast@ohiorealtors.org. We'll see you next time.